All right. Good morning, Makodi, Ikeja, Benin City, Window. Happy to have us all in the room this morning. Part of our program in Celebrating Freedom 250, we'll be reviewing the book Triumph, the Untold Story of Jesse Owens and Hitler's Olympics, written by Jeremy Scarp and published by Lerner Publishing Group in year 2007. The book has 304 pages, and I want to believe that most of us have taken advantage of our eLibrary USA Libby to read this book. And I want to assure us that we are in for a great time this morning. We have already with us our book reviewer, our guest that will be facilitating this session, in the person of Cecilia Omorogbe, who is the senior sports anchor and producer at Channels TV. Can we put our hands together for Cecilia? Thank you. So, Cecilia, she'll be telling us briefly about herself, what she does, who she is, before we delve into the review of the book. But before she does that, I would like to just read a short intro even to the book. Some victories transcend medals, trophies, and record books. They become defining moments in human history when courage defeats hatred, dignity overcomes prejudice, and excellence silences propaganda. Triumph, the untold story of Jesse Owens and Hitler's Olympic, is one of such story. This book is written or was written by award-winning journalist Jeremy Scarp, as earlier mentioned. This compelling work transports readers into one of history's most politically charged sporting events, the 1936 Berlin Olympic Games. More than a sports narrative, the book explores how athletics became entangled with politics, racism, nationalism, and international diplomacy during one of the darkest periods of the 20th century. At its center stands Jesse Owens, an African American athlete whose extraordinary achievements challenge both Nazi racial ideology and the racial inequalities that existed in the United States. Owen did not simply compete, he became a global symbol of perseverance, humility, and human dignity. Jeremy approaches this remarkable story with the skills of both a historian and an investigative journalist, rather than retelling only the familiar tale of Owens winning 4 gold medals. Scarp uncovers lesser known details, including the political maneuvering behind the games, the experiences of other athletes, the international tensions surrounding the event, and the lasting legacy of Berlin 1936. For young readers, the book offers timeless lessons about courage, integrity, resilience, leadership, friendship, and the importance of standing for truth in difficult circumstances. And I'm sure that most of us that have read this book, we have seen most of these timeless lessons in the book. And if you not have opportunity to finish reading the book before this program, I will want to encourage you, before you leave your space today, make out time to read the entire book. And the link to the book has been shared to the directors in the spaces. With this, I'd like to welcome our guest, Cecilia Omorogbe, to take over the book review and discussion. Please tell us more about yourself before we delve into the program. Over to you, Cecilia. While we wait for Cecilia, I don't know, from our spaces, if you have read the book, can you just can you wave at me, or can you raise your virtual hand so I can see? Anybody? Uyo, are you raising hand? Meduguri, Enugu, Unilag,
We have trouble connecting. It's not connected.
okay. So I was asking before our guest comes up, anybody that has read the book in any of our spaces, you can just give us a short um, review or something that you saw that stood out for you. Anybody from Unilag or any of our spaces? Enugu, can you switch on your camera so we can see you? Makodi. Hi, Cecilia.
Good morning.
Morning.
Yeah, just a second.
Yeah.
Somebody wants to tell us something from Enugu. Enugu, go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry, ma. The center is not lighted at the moment. That was why the camera was off.
Yeah, there's no problem, but I can see you. You want to say something? Please tell us. Anybody that has read the
No,
book
ma.
from your center, from your window?
No, no, ma.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. So, Cecilia, I tried to read a short intro into the book.
Yeah.
So, I was trying to ask some of our participants if any of them read and they want to share what they have read before you come on. So I think they want to hear from you.
Okay.
Just tell us briefly about yourself, what you
Okay.
would like us to know and our audience so that they'll be able to connect properly with you. Thank you.
Okay. My name is Cecilia Omorogbe, as she has mentioned. So I work with Channels Television, producer, and also an anchor of a sports program on Channels TV. I've been there for 13 years now. Yes, 13 years plus, almost 15 years plus experience in the sports industry. So there's IVLP International Visitors Leadership Program. I was in before COVID 2019. So I think I was the only Nigerian that was picked among the about 50 plus women that went for the first ever and only, I don't know if they're going to do others when it comes to women's in leadership in sports journalism. So went for the IVLP. So since then, I've been able to connect with most of the colleagues across board, both in Nigeria and of course across the world. So basically, that's basically all. I've covered sports across the world. I'm passionate about women, when it comes to sports coverage. So I try to focus on women, and that actually came out from what I learned at the IVLP, where women's sports are underreported. So I took it upon myself, okay, whenever they're having tournaments, whether the sponsorship or not, just try as much as possible to bring it to other people. So in relation to sports, I think when I take a look at the book, the historical background and what sports have actually done in the world, we know, I mean, this is not like, it's like a cliche now that, sports unites the world, sports bring people together. So from what we learned from that 1936 Olympics, hosted in Germany, we know that most countries usually use sports, they call it sports washing. The country may not be at the best at a particular time, not having the necessary, should I use the word ingredients now, what makes a nation in terms of racism, in terms of war, in terms of, tolerance, inclusion. They may not have that. But sometimes you just want to host a tournament in sports so people can see them in different lights. So what this book brings to light is not just the sports washing that Hitler was trying to do, because at a point, they had to stop him from congratulating athletes because he was trying to use that, being a good man, in quotes. So people tend to use sports to facilitate what they do and normalize what they do as if it's normal, which for us, we know is not normal. If you're hosting a sports tournament when there's no inclusion, where there's a level of racism, when you don't care about the next person, so it shows that is really not who you are, and that is not sports. Where's the spirit of sportsmanship, So that's what I get to understand about this. But for Jesse, it's someone who, against all odds, I mean, his story actually resonates with most athletes in Nigeria. People who defy all odds to win medals. I've had an encounter with a lot of athletes, really. Their stories are everywhere. There's a particular one recently, Aisat Yusuf. She won 4 titles with the Nigerian women's, the Super Falcons at the African Women's Championship. She went for 3 World Cups. She has been to the Olympics. But the story is something that resonates with almost everyone. What she encountered before she could even do sports. And what was that? She had to run away from home at the age of 15 to be able to play football because her father, Imam, she's the only girl. And so when you're in an environment like that, Muslim background and everything, and you're a girl and you're playing ball, we're talking about 90s now, where it's not really, unlike now, the parents encourage their children to play football. But she couldn't. She has to run away from home, sleeping at stadiums and the corners, in Lagos, in Mushi, before she was discovered by a coach who saw her and said, okay, you love playing football, come to our academy and come join us. That's how she was rescued from the street, literally. And the first time my parents saw her was on air. She was crying when she was singing Nigerian anthem at the Under-20 World Cup. That's when her parents saw her. And because she was crying, the camera focused on her. So her face was not everywhere. And this is someone they haven't seen for like 4 or 5 years because she left home to play football. So the story of Jesse Owens actually resonates with almost everyone who had to face different adversities, will be able to conquer. That's what I've seen in it. And I hope that those who will want to go read the book, not really those, everyone should have to read that book to understand what resilience really means and how politics actually infuse into sports. And then also make people to understand that sometimes when you lend a hand to your opponent, you're not just trying to make yourself look less. You're also, projecting the spirit of sportsmanship that sports is really known for.
Okay, thank you very much, Cecilia. Can you speak to the Jesse Owens' early life and how he came to develop athletic prowess before the Olympics? And if possible, you can relate it with the people that you have seen, the young people that you have seen that are in sports in Nigeria, just like the case you just presented to us.
Okay. I think the way, at that time, in the US, we know that it was actually, there was racism everywhere. So it was hard for Black athletes, to compete. You know, when you're coming from that kind of background, it's actually difficult for you to be able to succeed, because everybody feels that you won't be able to do anything because already you are marginalized. You know, originally he was known as JC. I mean, he's the youngest of 10 children. He had three boys and three girls and 7 boys. And he was born in Cleveland. And of course, in Alabama, you know, he was a grandson of a slave. You know, at the age of 9, he and his family moved to Cleveland in Ohio for better opportunities. And it was this part of this great migration that actually helped him. You know, millions of African Americans who left that segregated area in the rural South for the urban industrial North, which was much better to where they were living at that time. But because of his strong Southern accent, you know, his name was changed. You know, his name was changed to something else. So being in his younger years, he did different mania jobs, you know, he delivered groceries just for him to make money. And not just that, during the period, he realized his passion for running. So basically, he had to turn what he knows how to do, you know, to make money, to start running. When he discovered that he knows how to run, so Charles Riley, his junior high school track coach at the time, you know, discovered him and allowed him to practice, you know, in school. So that was how actually, you know, he started it. So his attention was drawn to, you know, when he started running for the school, you know, the national championship. That's how he was able to get into the Olympics. So his 100 meters dash that remained a national record in the school was far back in 1967. You know, also he ran that 200 meters dash, which is also the national record that was held for about 20 years. So basically, Jesse Owens, the way he discovered, the way he discovered sports wasn't really something that was born with him. It was through his adversity trying to survive that I discovered that, yes, he could run. And that's what I felt that most athletes these days, Kenyan athletes, for instance, yes, let's bring them. Kenyan athletes, for instance, that are distance runners, because of the topography of their country. Most of them run to school. They don't, the way some of their areas are designed is designed in a way that they don't have the access to transportation. So they run to school, so that's why they are fast. And when you speak with some of these athletes and going to school, they were going to school barefoot. So they just learn how to run. So we discovered that Jesse Owens' story resonated with some of these athletes who, against all odds, had to start to take to sports. And we've discovered that all through the years, most of the sports person that I know that I've spoken to started sports out of necessity or out of not just this, it wasn't what they dream about, this is what I want to do, but somehow they found themselves in, and because of that strength and tenacity they have, they were able to pull through. There's an example of Keinsola Ajayi, who is the current national record holder in 100 meters for Nigeria. He grew up in Ikorodu. He grew up playing football until a coach discovered him and told him, look, you can actually run. And then he started running. Choma Juan, for instance, who won a gold medal for Nigeria, the first gold medal for Nigeria, individual gold medal at the Olympics. A lady who discovered her, she was playing football. And they told her that, look, if you keep playing football, you might end up breaking your leg. And then the doping issue happened. So when she was found out by this, but Emilia Edet was the one who found out, now had to rehabilitate her literally, and then started grooming her for long jump, for 100 meters, for sprint events. And then she ended up, winning a gold medal for Nigeria. So we've seen that some of these athletes, what they passed through wasn't pretty. What they went through wasn't pretty. But then against all odds, they were able to come out tough.
Great. So this book review is actually titled Stories That Connect us, that's US with Nigeria. And I like the way that you are connecting the stories of Nigerians, young Nigerian athletes, with Jesse Owens. And in American spaces, we have a lot of young people that have talents that they are not even aware of. Take, for instance, in Lagos, when you are in traffic, you see some of these boys, they can run as fast as Jesse Owens, but they've not been discovered. I just want you to speak to some of these people that might be in the room or that might have the opportunity to watch this video later on our YouTube channel. What do you think they can do to discover who they are? Just like you said, Jesse Owens was able to discover that he could run, and he turned that talent to something that was meaningful and has become something that we are talking about today globally.
Okay, I think basically sometimes when you're facing some issues, like for instance, maybe like as you mentioned, we've seen some people run in traffic. Like it's not everyone that is lucky, like the Ajuwons of this world, or maybe the Ayisat of this world. Even Asisat Oshola is another typical example that I believe everyone know and understand, playing football on the street with the boys before she was discovered by a coach. So if there's this innate thing that is in you that you feel you can do, do you like jumping? Do you like running? Do you just like kicking the ball or maybe throwing the ball? There are spaces for you, really. Unlike before, we didn't have those spaces. That's the luck that the Jesse Owens was lucky because he was in the US. I believe if he was somewhere else in the UK, I'm not sure a coach would have discovered his talent, because the US have this program, the NCAA program, and also when you're talented, no matter your color, your skin, or anything, you get someone to actually take you in because your talent is what they're looking for. They're no longer looking at you as a black man or a white man. They're looking at you, what you can actually offer the country, what you can offer the school, and that's what they take away from you, your talent. So if there's any talent, anything you feel you're actually good at, why not nurture it, really? If you feel like you love running, maybe you're in traffic, you sell pure water, gala, or anything like that in traffic, and you run. Try as much as possible. When you're done with that at the end of the day, nurture that talent, really. You can go to the stadium. So go to the National Stadium in Lagos, for instance. You will see different coaches putting athletes through different sessions. You can approach that coach and ask them, can I join you? And they'll ask you, okay, what can you do? And you can demonstrate what you can do. If you're the type that love boxing, or you go to the gym regularly and you feel that, okay, I can actually box, let me give it a try. You can also go to the stadium. I don't know what is obtainable in other states, but I know in Lagos, for instance, in Abuja, we've seen coaches really putting athletes through the drills. So you can join some of these ones. In terms of football, I think that's the easiest. You have academies everywhere, Once you have that talent, why not nurture that talent? Someone will see you. Some will say, no, it's hard. You need to have money to join the national team. No, it's not in all cases, really. We've seen athletes who were actually discovered by that. Victor Osimhen, if you hear his story, you will weep. I mean, when he lost his father, started selling pure water in the street of Lagos, not Jota. He went to Abuja to be able to get into the under-17. He was even, they even bypassed him. He wouldn't have made it until one of those coaches who had watched him, when he was going through the drills, and said, where is that guy that was dribbling everybody? They said he had gone. They said, go look for him. They brought him back. I mean, what happened? I mean, the rest is history. So when you're good at a particular thing, just try and nurture it somehow, someday, because it's what you want to do. When you have that zeal, that belief in you, it works really. Hard work works perfectly with everybody. We've seen it sports over and over again. The popular scenario is Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi that people usually compare. Now, Ronaldo, they will say Ronaldo is someone who worked hard to achieve what he is. Messi, naturally, he's gifted. He's gifted, got a good parents, and he was able to get into La Sema in Barcelona at the age of 13. And from there, the rest is history. Ronaldo understands that, yes, he grew up in hardship. What does he need to do to be among the best? So he needed to work hard. I mean, it's hard for you to see an athlete who doesn't take alcohol, or who prioritize himself than any other thing. So there are things you also need to do. It's sacrifice, really. You can sacrifice yourself for like 15 years, and then that 15 years you definitely reap it in future, because you're building for the future. So if you have talent in running, you have talent in playing with the ball or catching the ball, or maybe boxing, or even bodybuilding, really is not a sport, in Nigeria. So these are some of the things you can actually do. Just hone your skills, practice it regularly, and then you see that someone will see you, they'll discover you, and then the rest could just be history. We'll be looking at maybe our next Olympian in the future.
Great. Thank you very much. We are still going to open the platform up to our participants in the other American spaces. But before we do that, I just want to find out, let me ask on behalf of somebody that might be in the room this morning, do we have, as a nation, do we have somewhere raw athletes can go to, like a national organization that looks at raw talents and groom them? Do we have anything like that in Nigeria?
No, we really don't have. What they do is they do trials, for instance. They do trials. Different sports federations have their own trials. Yeah, that's what we've been agitating for, really, asking the national sports commissions, for instance, to set up things. They've set up one in the diaspora where Nigerian athletes who are competitive, who are talented, can actually go, and then they go through trials and then they are picked. But do we have any in Nigeria? No, because you have federations that handle these things. So if you're in football, for instance, and you're underage before 17, so when they call for when they are looking for athletes that will compete at the under 17 level, they don't use professional athletes. They go to academies, they throw it open. So people go there and then you train, and then if you're lucky, you get picked. For athletics, for instance, a different sports commission or sports association in the state are responsible for that. They have the National Sports Festival, for instance. National Sports Festival is also an avenue where athletes can compete. So if you go to the stadium, you can meet all these sports federations. The one you're interested in, if it's football, they have association in every state. You can meet them and they'll tell you how to actually go about it. They also have academies. Most of the academies in Nigeria, few of them are registered. But why people are always skeptical about academy is, I've got to understand that some will just have one building and pack maybe 6, 7, about 20 or 30 boys in a building, which is really not too conducive. And some of them don't end up going to school. So if you're looking for an academy, look for the one that can also put you in school. Shegun Odegbami runs one. There's one that he's running where, if you're a gifted athlete, you get to go to school and also get to start training. So these are some of the opportunities available. For basketball, it's actually easy for basketball players because there's this international pathway program that the NBA is doing. The NFL, that's the National Football League, which is the American football. There's also the flag football. Flag football, for instance, just finished their trials some time ago. So if you have that talent, so you can join one of these programs. That they have some programs. I think there's one that's coming up in Lagos that is being hosted by Eric and Michael Eric, a former D Tigers assistant captain. He's hosting one. So athletes go there. Those who, if you're good in basketball, if you have the height, you join those camp, and then if you're good enough, you get to be picked. Basketball actually is the easiest because I have a friend who he has stopped playing basketball. Now, how did he get into basketball? He's 6'9", 6'11", so he's very tall. So he was playing football at the stadium, and they were doing this big man camp by I'm trying to remember his name now. The former president of Toronto Raptors, Ajiri. Yeah. So I'm trying to remember. Okay, if I get his name, I'll mention him. So the big man camp that he was doing. So he was literally on his own, and someone came. There's a basketball camp here now. You have the height, so why not come join us? And then he was, I think, then he was 6'4". He was 15 at that time. He was 15, was already 6'4", and he went to the camp, and he was one of those that were picked straight up. He was already in secondary school, straight up. They picked him up. He went to the US, and he finished his secondary school in the US. He went to college there, and he started playing basketball. He represented Nigeria at I think African Games and also one of the Nations Cup. So we've seen that these are some of the avenues, actually, some of these avenues that athletes can actually, hop on to go. Why I say basketball is easier, because you have these athletes coming back, those athletes who give back to the society. They come back almost every summer, every year, to look for talent. If you're good enough, you get your scholarship, you get your sponsorship. All you need to do is to just be good in your studies and also your talent, develop your talent, and then you'll be able to go there. But there's really no place you can say, oh, this is where everybody, if you have a talent, come here. I hope maybe someday we'll have that, but I doubt really, because I don't know if it's something that is really feasible, because already you have the National Sports Commission running the whole sport in Nigeria, the elites. They focus basically on the elites. So they expect the federations across the states and also the ones in the local government to discover those talents and bring them up. Bayelsa, for instance, they started something that is really great. They have this Prosperity Cup where amateur footballers compete. They join clubs, they compete, and then I think there are two players that have been picked from that league to join national team, or also to play at the professional league in Nigeria. So these are some of the avenues you can actually reach out to be able to actually play your sports. Yeah, let me like that.
Yeah, thank you very much, Cecilia. So maybe before we round off the program, if you have any link that could be of help to any of our young people in the room that they can try out to get some of these opportunities, we will appreciate. Maybe you can drop it on the chat box, or you can say it out. We will drop it on the chat box for them. So back to our story. This year, America celebrates Freedom 250. That's 250 years of independence. And in some of the central theme of the book that we are looking at is excellence. Excellence that defies prejudice, courage under pressure, the power of character, friendship beyond national boundaries, then the intersection of sports and society, resilience in the face of adversity. These are all the things that we saw in the case of Jesse Owens, even in this book. I just want you to talk to the young audience in the room. How can they adopt some of these themes in shaping the political arena in our nation as our own contribution to the development of our nation? Just like Jesse Owens was able to change, the trajectory during that Olympic, and it did not allow, all the prejudice and all the whatnot, the political pressure, even to take over what he had to do.
Okay. This is for me, right? Okay.
Yes.
I think. Okay. Basically, like the world we live in, like, it's hard for you to actually take politics away from sports. Yeah, it's hard for you to take government away from sports because you need the facilities, you need the sponsorship, and you need everything. Jesse Owen actually defies all odds, even when it wasn't any money from sports. He had to make a living. How? It was dry cleaning, doing all kind of business until he was hired, by Met for him to be their running instructor. So sometimes you may not really get what you're looking for, but you have to just find a way, to actually do that. But then, how do we learn from him, and how do we as a society actually make sports better? For instance, people talk about investments, really. Well, when you talk about investments, how do you make that investment visible? And how do you make an athlete who, for instance, understands that I do not have the money, I do not have the means, I can't get a coach. So the best way we can actually do that is to make, like, there's this sports funds that Lagos State is trying to do, sports funds they're trying to do. I mean, pulling funds together to start building infrastructures, supporting athletes. But this one also relates to established athletes. So what happens to those who are trying to make it, in quotes? There's really not much space for them, because we've not created that environment for them to excel. Some of them who excel, as I mentioned earlier, excel against all odds. But how do you now bridge that gap? How do you harness it in a way that those who are so at the bottom are able to at least catch up, with those that are maybe on the average, not the very elite now? By having different competitions, really. For instance, we can have local governments who can organize competitions for different, local governments in the states. You can have a local government championship whereby the best athletes can be selected and given scholarship to go to school. I've seen some, I've attended some events whereby they will tell you that the best athletes will be given scholarship. And I've seen that really. The cricket federation, for instance, they're doing that. Most of the girls that I know, they're in school. Some of them are in Unilag, in University of Benin, schooling and also playing cricket. The federation was responsible for that. They saw the talent that they have. Some of them love cricket, but because of the poor background they have, they couldn't go to school. So the federation president, Uyi Akpata, had to take him upon himself to give scholarship to some of these girls. So the flag football is also doing something like that. The last secondary school championship that they hosted, there's a school, I wouldn't want to promote the school as in a particular, it's a private university. You have to give scholarship to the outstanding athletes. I mean, these athletes understand that, yes, after doing this, this is my next point of call. And these are, when I spoke to some of the kids at that time, we're talking about secondary school now. At that time, before they picked up flag football, started playing flag football, they don't even know what it was. Someone brought it to their school, their coach told them about it, and they started, and then that's how they learn how to do it. And then some of them got scholarship into university out of that one. So there are different ways we can actually encourage young athletes, different ways we can also make policies. For instance, we're advocating that something that is happening in the US, the NCAA, the collegiate system, for instance, can be replicated in Nigeria, where athletes who are gifted can get a scholarship to go to school. I mean, what the US have actually done for us in terms of sport is most of the athletes that we have now at the Commonwealth Games, for instance, majority of the athletes that will be representing Nigeria, especially in track and field, are from the collegiate system in the US. Kensela Ajayi that I mentioned, for instance, if Kensela has not gone to the US, to run, to go to school, I believe we would just stay in Ikorodu, and that's the end of his story. So the collegiate system that the US have built over the years, if we can replicate that here in Nigeria, marrying school curriculum and sports, because over the years I've seen athletes who had to drop out of school to focus on their career because they couldn't combine both. I spoke with an 82-year-old woman. I mean, she's the only female head coach Nigeria have ever had, in the Athletics Federation of Nigeria. She's 82 this year. I spoke with her like three or 4 weeks ago when she was telling me her story, how she was looking at JAM and she was looking at going at first time when she was invited to the national team. I think it was the Commonwealth Games or All African Games, her very first invite she got. She was going to write a WAEC and then go on to write the next exam, which was in JAM. Then I'm trying to remember the name she mentioned now. So it was between her choosing writing WAEC at that time or going to the national camp. So she had to choose the national camp because according to her, she feels that she can always have the time to go to sport. So she chose her education over that. But luckily for her, because of her talent, next year when she was done with her work, she's well read. When I mean well read, she went to university, certification courses, coaching courses, and everything at National Institute for Sport. So she's well read, across the world. So she said that she had to think, what do I do? Do I go to the national camp and go meet the athletes, or do I write my exams? She chose to write her exams because when her parents were telling her, if you want to go into sport, of course you have to be well educated. So she's lucky that she had parents who could advise her in that way. But what we've seen now recently, I've seen athletes who they're like, okay, I've been called to the national team. What should I do? Should I go to school or should I pursue, the national team? And when you are called into the national team, at least your daily allowances and maybe your match bonuses or athletes are winning bonuses will get you somewhere because of the economic situation in Nigeria. So most of them will decide they'll choose the national camp and leave education. So because we don't have that, we're seeing athletes who are not well educated being brought into the system. That's why I'm happy that most of them who are going to the US now are more refined, understand what it means to compete well, and also understand the spirit of sportsmanship. I'm not just that knowing that after sport, there's life after sport. So they've created a space for them, life after sports, by going to school. So if we have a system here where the curriculum of the school can also be infused into sporting, federation, we'll have better athletes, really. That athletes will know that even if I don't get the opportunity to get into the NCAA in the US, I also have opportunity here because if I'm good enough, I can get a scholarship to go to any school of my choice in Nigeria. And of course, another thing is we really don't have schools who will focus on sports really in university. Outside, there are 2 or 3 private universities that I know that are big on sports. And they're private universities. I don't know if it's good to like promo for them, but they are private universities who, you know, absorb some of these talents. But how many can they absorb? If, for instance, you make it note, you have a policy in the country whereby talented athletes get a pool. For instance, you can mention University of Lagos. I mean, what do we know them for? Cricket. So if you have athletes who are very good at a particular level, they're maybe at the secondary school level, they were good in playing cricket, you know that UNILAG will absorb them and give them scholarship. University of Benin, for instance, maybe they are good in football or taekwondo. You know that, you know, after national, if you have athletes competed at the National Sports Festival, for instance, were very good. I mean, University of Benin can absorb them, give them scholarship. And then we have that ripple effect over time, but we really don't have that. So athletes still need to, should I abandon school? Should I focus on the national team? Or what should I do? So that divide is still there. So that's why we need to change our orientation and have that policy that can, you know, blend education and sport like we have in the collegiate system in the US.
And I think we are speaking to the right person this morning, that can take up that movement to shape the policy so that we can have this. You know, journalists, they do a lot of work, just like athletes and sports men and women. Thank you very much. So I'd like, before we throw the floor open, because we are still going to be engaging our participants in our locations after this virtual session for one-on-one personal session on this book review. So I just want to ask a few questions. Then if you have any question from our spaces, you can raise your virtual hand. And if you are close to the system, you can type it in the chat box. So from historical understanding from the book, how did politics influence sports during the Berlin Olympics?
Okay.
Relating it with the story of Jesse Owens, just in 2 minutes, because of the time.
Okay, can you come with the question, please?
Sorry?
Come with the question again, please.
Okay, so I said, looking at the story of Jesse Owens, how did politics influence sports during the Berlin Olympics?
You know, apart from the season, also the war in Germany, where, you know, the Jews, you know, there was the issue with the Jews, there was the issue with the American Jews who couldn't compete simply because they had to, like, there were also countries who couldn't go because of what Hitler was known for at that time. So there was also some countries who wanted to boycott some of the issues that were at the time. So I think if, for instance, we didn't allow politics to shape what sports, maybe it's been a better Olympics for everyone, because you can have because I remember I read some parts where after Jesse returns to the US, he wasn't really giving the accolades he deserved. Someone who won 4 good medals. I mean, if it's now, I mean, his billboards, everything will be everywhere. So he didn't really have that.
Cecilia, maybe you might need to go off the camera. It's like the network is freezing. So I can see Port Harcourt, and also I saw, was it Enugu? You have a question or a contribution? Enugu.
Okay, I have a question now.
Okay, hold on. Let me see if Cecilia is still with us. Hello, Cecilia. Can you hear us? Okay, so Enugu, you might need to hold on. Let's hold on for her to come back. So I would like to ask our audience question before our facilitator comes back on air. So anybody can answer. Just raise, if you want to answer the question, just raise your virtual hand. So what personal qualities enable Jesse Owens to perform at the highest level under immense pressure? Anybody from the space, you can raise your virtual hand and answer. According to the book, did somebody raise hand in Unilag? American Corner, Port Harcourt. You want to tell us what personal qualities enable Jesse Owens to perform at the highest level under immense pressure? Our speaker has mentioned some of them before. Port Harcourt, are you answering for us? We can hear you. You might need to refresh since you are frozen. Okay, we can hear you. Is that Oshogbo?
Yes.
Okay, let's hold on for Port Harcourt. Port Harcourt wants to say something.
You asked, just repeat it, then we can.
Okay, the question. I said, what personal
Repeat the
qualities
question.
enabled Jesse Owens to perform at the highest level under immense pressure during the Olympics, 1936 Olympics?
Well, he's an athlete, I would say that, of course. And a lot of things move our athletes to overperform. I would say reviewing his saying that these people are not the kind of people that you play with. So you have to work, which is consistently, day by day, putting in the effort, extra times, depriving himself of things. He had to sacrifice his time. He had to sacrifice probably time with his family. So he was overperforming. Yes. And then perfecting his work. So the resilience was there, and then the consistency was there too.
Thank you very much.
That's what I have to say. But
right,
Jason Owens, Abi?
Yes, you are right. Resilient, he was resilient and he was consistent with his values. He did not compromise. He stood for what he believed in, and that worked well for him. Thank you very much. Cecilia, welcome back.
Yeah.
We have some of our spaces they are contributing.
Please, I have my question. I have my question.
Hold on. You will ask your question. Just hold on. So Oshogbo, is it a question or you want to answer the question that I asked?
Answer my question. I have my own question.
Okay. Hold on, Port Harcourt. Oshogbo, please go ahead and answer the question. The qualities that stood Jesse Owens out.
My name is Discipline.
Hi. Say again.
Discipline and determination.
Discipline and determination. Thank you very much. Thank you. Absolutely correct. Do say, is it a question or you want to answer the question I asked? You are muted.
All right, go ahead. We want to answer the question.
Go ahead, sir. Good.
On integrity, discipline, accountability,
yes,
and leadership. And
thank you very much. Fantastic.
Skills.
Very well. Thank you so much. Thank you. So, Medjugorje, you want to answer or you have a question for our facilitator? Thank you, Monday Matthew. Courage, humility, and compassion. Unilag, it was courageous and it was disciplined. Very correct. Medjugorje, do you have a question or you want to answer the question I asked? You are muted, sir. Okay, why we wait for you to get your audio? So, Port Harcourt, you can ask your question now. Cecilia is with us. Port Harcourt. Okay, while we are waiting for Port Harcourt, Enugu, please go ahead with your question.
Wow.
Enugu, on mute and ask your question.
Okay, good, Emma. Thank
Go
you
ahead.
for the impactful session.
To the question.
Okay,
Please.
my question is this. There are some families, there are some people that have like too much of parental control over them. And we've also seen cases where some families, they sent their firstborn or their elder child to football academy, and then the elder child or the firstborn keep getting disappointments and could not succeed in the enterprise. So, and we now found in another case that the other children or the other child now want to still go on to sport, but because of that former encounter with the elder child, so the parents are now discouraging the other children or the other child that want to go on to sport. So, what can be the advice or the solution to this kind of case?
Thank you. Cecilia, can you take that?
Okay, sorry, can you come again with your question?
You just wanted
Sorry.
to understand,
Yeah.
There's a situation where maybe the firstborn went into
Yeah.
sports and he did not make anything out of it. Then maybe the other siblings wants to take on sports and the parents are saying no, because the first example they saw, there was no result and they don't want them to waste away their lives.
Yeah.
So say, what should they do?
Yeah, I
The
think
other
a
siblings.
situation like that, is when you don't, I mentioned talent, right? Parents, I've seen like this, there are some kids who are interested in basketball and the parents want them to play football. I think that's where the situation comes really. What is the child really interested in? Because if you're good at a sport and you train hard, there is no way you will not succeed really. That's what we've seen over the years, really. Talent is not just enough. So you also have to work hard. What did the firstborn, what did he do? Was he really talented in football? Is it football he really wanted to play? Did the parents ask him, what do you want to do? I think this is another angle really we have to look at it, because I've seen those who started as footballers and ended up playing table tennis. Footballers ended up become basketball players. Footballers, I mentioned Choma Juwon, a typical example. She was playing football until a coach called her and said, look, you're too tiny for football, come and run. And then what happened? She won a gold medal. So now you don't need to look at yourself. What do you think you're really good at? I know at that age you may not know, but try everything. You have to try everything. That's why sending a child to an academy very early is kind of risky. Try everything. So whatever that particular talent that outshines every other one will definitely come out. And that's when you know that, okay, this is what I'm good at. This is what I'm going to chase. It's possible the firstborn doesn't even like the football that they ask him to go play. He may not like it. That's another thing. Because if you're good at something,
all right, it's like we are having connection problem. Okay, so while we wait for our connection, because of we are actually running out of time. So thank you, Cecilia. We got that. Discover yourself and prove yourself in that field, and nobody will be able to dissuade you from pursuing it. So American Corner, Calabar, are you ready? Port Harcourt, sorry. Port Harcourt, are you ready? If you are not ready, I saw Unilag. Unilag was up. Maiduguri, Makodi. Okay, Makodi, go ahead. I can see Makodi's hand is up. Please ask your question. Unmute and ask. Okay. If you cannot speak to your mic, you can chat your message. We can pick it up from there and read it out. So I can only see Port Harcourt and is up.
I do it fast now.
Calabar?
Yeah. We have a question, but we are he's trying to frame the question. So
okay.
Just give us some minutes.
Okay then, all right. So Port Harcourt, you wanted to ask your question by all means. Now is your time to ask. So Katsina, you can go ahead and unmute and ask your question. We can hear you, sir. Go ahead.
Good morning.
Same to you.
We are really excited and share the feeling. My question here is, there are residents in America now about all these cases. And secondly, what are the things we can now use to reduce or to abolish racism in our countries? Especially in the developed countries like America, still they are having this if there is and we're seeing your commitment. Thank you very much.
Cecilia, did you hear him?
No, I thought it was breaking.
Okay, it was breaking. I didn't hear. Sunny, please, can you chat his question? We couldn't hear. There was a lot of echo on the background. So we have a question in the chat box while we wait for Calabar. In the case of someone who is talented from Oguntech Hub in football, and the individual really gave in all diligence, what could we say is the missing link? It could, maybe the person didn't make something out of it and he gave in all. What advice can we give that person?
It could be that it's not really for you, really. It could be football is not for you because you can't force what you don't have, really. It could be that is not for you. So you can actually try another sport. And that's why we say education is important. When you're going to school and you're playing that football, it's covered that, oh, this is not for you. You can always focus on your education and think of what other thing you think you're good at. Because we've seen like thousands of athletes who say, I want to be a footballer. And out of that 1,000, maybe only 20 will just succeed. And that's why in academy in Europe, for instance, they don't joke with school at all. Even if you're in their own academy, Manchester United, Chelsea, all of them, the academy, they go to school because not all of them will make it into the first team. That is a fact, really. So if it's not for you, so you have other things, you can become a coach, really. You can, Jose Mourinho, for instance, was he a footballer? No. He didn't play football like per se, like, oh, he was really, really a good footballer. Apart from the likes of Pep Guardiola, Carlo Ancelotti that we know very well, who they played the game and say Flicks and the other. There's so many. Some injury at the age of 21, they got injured and then they had to go study. So there is National Institute for Sports, for instance, NIS, that train coaches. So you can go into coaching or physiotherapy or something. You can still be in the sports industry, but definitely not as a player. You can go for coaching courses and then you still want to be in this space. Yeah, you can always, there's so many things. You can be a physiotherapist, you can be a team manager, you can be a media officer if you want to. There are so many other things since you still want to be within the ecosystem of football. So you can do other things. You may not be on the field of play, but the other things can actually do, really. That's why education is number one, is important. So in case this doesn't work out, you fall back to Plan A is always education, plan B is the sport. So that's the thing. To make education your plan A, make the sports your plan B, so you can easily fall back to your plan A when plan B is not going well.
And you can also be a sports journalist like Cecilia.
Precisely.
And shape policy to bring in more people that have talent. Great. So are you ready? Okay, so I can see the question from... Okay, no, Katsina is still chatting. We just have few more minutes to go.
Yeah,
so
we are ready.
Okay, Calabar, go ahead. I think that should be about the last question we will take. If Katsina is able to drop, we'll quickly touch on it because we have taken so much time. Go ahead, sir. Straight to the question.
Okay, so Owens wasn't exactly welcomed by Franklin Roosevelt, right? And it concerns me, right? Sometimes the motivation for the things we do, right, and by the people we expect to see us, right, we don't really get it at the end of the day. So what can you say can be a driving force in such case of not being recognized, lack of recognition? Yeah.
Yeah, it's really painful, really. I made mention of he had to start doing every other thing to make money because he couldn't even get a job. Is that bad, Like for instance, sponsorship won't come in because you're a black man. We're talking about the 30s at this point, 1930 something, where segregation and racism was really high in the US. And even if you remember the Hitler story, where Hitler had to stop shaking hands because they also have to tell him, look, either you congratulate everybody or don't congratulate at all, because you congratulate only the white guys and leave the black guys. So it was that, but it was right from that very Olympics he started experiencing that. So you as an athlete, we don't have that recognition. Let me talk about the Super Falcons, for instance, I'm really passionate about. Super Falcons won the 10th title last year, right? Of Women's Africa Cup of Nations. The presidency said they're going to give them $100,000. Till date, they haven't earned that money. Will they stop playing? No. They won't stop playing. So that's the thing. They've not earned the money till date. They're playing the next one is starting this Sunday. It's 1 year after. They haven't gotten that. Still promises. Yeah, they give them all and all. What about the D-Tigers just got there when they qualify for the Basketball World Cup 1 year after. So we don't even know if the Super Falcons will even going to get it. Let's cast our mind back to the one who won Olympics, Atlanta 96 and the 94, USA 94 and Tunisia 94 Super Eagles that won so many things at that particular time. What were promised then? It was when Buhari came in his second term. That's when they gifted them. Most of those players have died. I mean, Stephen Kershin, for instance, is an example. So they didn't reap the reward. So do you stop? They didn't stop. So you don't stop, really, because if you wait for recognition in sports, forget it. You will not do it. it doesn't come. So what you need to do is you keep going. I spoke with Asifat, for instance, on what keeps you guys going, and you know, she said if they don't win, if they just go there and play and come back without winning, nobody will even see them. But at least people will know that, oh, they are here on the 1 minute. At least Nigerians will celebrate them, even if they don't get anything out of it. So now it's what you do. This is what you love. Sport is passion before the accolades come. If you don't have passion, colleagues will definitely you'll be disappointed. That's something I've get to understand when it comes to sports, really. Passion first, then the money follows. If there is no passion, you don't have the passion, you just want to go into for recognition, for people to like, yes, oh, I'm a footballer, to become a celebrity. You will get discouraged and then you will leave the sport. So first of all, focus on winning, focus on your best, focus on bringing out the best in you. And then posterity will speak for you, really. Yeah, athletes that are not recognized, they have been recognized across the world. Aisat Yusuf that I spoke about that ran away from home at 15 to go play football. She's the only woman in the whole world to have received the FIPRO Merit Award. No other woman have done that. I mean, she competed, she was against men, she's based in Finland. She was against men. They didn't have a choice than to give her, because the project she has done in terms of girl child and everything speaks for itself. It was there. They could see what she had done. What she had done was 13 times more than what the other guys who are based in the US, who are based everywhere across the world, who had the system, was even better. So you just keep going. Some days home out, the reward will just be waiting for you. She's a coach. I mean, FIFA invited her to coach the Afghan girls team, the summer camp that FIFA does every year. She's been invited to go do that. Has Nigeria ever invited her to coach the national team? No. They haven't, but she stopped. She didn't. She kept doing what she's doing. And recognition is coming across board, but not from here, but from everywhere across. If FIPRO can recognize you, not just as a coach, but someone who is influencing the girl child, someone who is doing a lot of projects to, you know, invest into the sport that gave to you and that gave you opportunity, but did not give you so much, then you have to recognize the person. So that's an example of someone I can say, yes, you can see this person, and then you know that just keep doing what you're doing. Somehow in the future, you get the rewards, really.
Thank you very much, Cecilia. I think this is a very good point to end this book review this morning. We have taken so much of your time, and we are very glad that you were able to make it. Please, let's all appreciate our facilitator, our reviewer this morning, by giving her a round of applause. Thank you so much, Cecilia. Thank you for your time. And we are looking at another time when we will really have time to come and talk about sports diplomacy on our conversation with an alum. I'm going to send you an email to that effect at your maybe sometime next year, so that I really love, you are really bringing a new flavor to sportsmanship, and I've started building interest, although I don't know how to play football, but I'm building interest in this field already. Thank you so much for all you do, and we are very grateful for your time. Thank you. Thank you so much. And we wish you all the best and happy weekend. Thank you. Let me use this opportunity to thank all our directors at our spaces for joining this morning session book discussion. This book is a book that you cannot exhaust the lessons that are therein. And we have prepared something even for those of us that are in person in our spaces, which is the untold story of Jesse Owens and his last Olympics personal workbook. So I want you to just stay behind at your space, say 30 minutes, say 15 minutes, with the director at the space, work on this personal workbook. You can take it home, so that it's something that you can continue to work on and become the best of yourself. Just like Cecilia said, carve a niche for yourself, stay there, be disciplined, build character, and value is coming. You will be appreciated in the long run. On Monday is our employability webinar. By 10 a.m., we'll be gathering on this platform. It promises to be another engaging, educative session. Please invite your friends. If you happen to have an enemy, also invite them to come and learn how to progress in their career. On Tuesday, we'll continue with the second week of our AI for youth entrepreneurs. Please don't miss that session. The first session was introductory, but this second session is going to blow your mind. It's going to set you on the right path to make something out of your career. As we look forward to seeing you next week, let me wish you a wonderful weekend. Have a great time. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye. Thank you, Cecilia. Bye.